All right, welcome back, my friends. This is going to be part 99 of my presentation on the flood and Noah's Ark. And in this block here, we are going to start getting into the ark. The ark, Noah's Ark, the ship itself. We're going to talk about different aspects of it and give some ideas that's been thrown out just for conversation and just some of the things, about it and what the Bible states. And so, but before I do that, I wanted to show you some of the arcs that I have. One, you'll see this one that's right behind me. I'm wanting to say that's 8, maybe 9 feet long, and but it's right here, and there's an opening on the end here, and I actually have a light built inside of it. There's a button that I can push, and it'll light up on the inside. I don't have it plugged up to a source or a power source right now, but that is one arc, and I've had all my arcs made by a guy. His website is called Den's Model Ship. That's DENS, Den's Model Ship. If I can find a link to his website, guys, I'll put it in the link below. He really specializes in ships, like pirate ships and stuff like that. He is phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. He's a true artist. And so he made me all my Noah's Arks. Now there's another one in right here. Now I made this container. If you'll notice where that dinosaur on the front of it says Noah's Ark, I actually made the outside of it, and it has all types of little areas you can put things in. And but I've got one that I bring to classes, public school class that I used to do about every. I don't know why I'm thinking every fall, but that's when I would go and see the class. And I would always bring that one with me, and the kids like to see that. And there's a portion of it that I would bring out, and I would do that. And I'll tell you what, I'll show a picture on the screen of me in a class. This was a number of years ago that I was in a public school showing, doing the. They always wanted me to come and do the Noah's Ark presentation, but my son would help me. And so and we homeschooled them, our kids, so they got a chance to see a homeschool kid in a public school, and that way they could see that yes, they do have 2 arms and 2 legs, and they can talk and associate with other children. And so, but at any rate, I do have some small ones. And here's some small ones. You'll see this one is usually right here is where I usually have that one at in the shelves behind me. And Den made this one. And so I also have another one of these up inside of this thing. And I got another one on my desk here that I put business cards and stuff in. And but yeah, this is the Noah's Ark that I will use it, and that way I can show and point out things and stuff like that. Just a cool ark to have. And then I got this one. This is one that you can get. This is from Answers in Genesis, and so I've got one of these. And now this one here, it doesn't come off. I just took a razor blade and cut it on the bottom, and then I took a fine sandpaper and smoothed it off. That way I could take it and show people. But we're going to talk about this look in the future, in a future video, maybe the next video. We'll be talking about that, but that way I could bring it up and talk about it. But it's a little stand, and I usually have that one sitting right up in here. That's where I'll have that one at. And so, but just some show and tell stuff that I like to bring to classes. I've always believed good in visual aid. If you can put some visuals to your lessons and your presentations, it just makes it that much more educational. And that's the reason why you see so much material in my presentations. And so, but that's what we're going to talk about, guys. We are going to get into Noah's Ark. And so, as far as where I am in this whole presentation, we are coming to the end, though we still have a lot to talk about. And so, but we are well over halfway through the presentation. And but if you'll notice on the screen here, this is the longevity chart from Adam to Joseph. And notice the verse that I have down here. In Genesis chapter 6, verse 3, The Lord said, and the Lord said, my spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he is also flesh, that he also is flesh. Yet his days shall be 120 years. Now, there is debate. There is debate amongst theologians exactly what he's talking about here. Some will say, well, that means that man will will not be able to live past 120 years. Well, if you look at the longevity chart there, even after the flood, they were living well past 120 years. And so I really don't believe that's what he's talking about. This right here could very well be an indication of how long it's going to be until he sends the flood. And so Noah has 120 years to build the ark. There are those, and I do believe that this is probably the strongest evidence that this is the timeline that Noah has to build the ark, He has 120 years to build that ark. And with the size and the dimensions that you're about to see, in this video and the next video and all that entailed into it, it definitely probably took them that long to build the ark. And so that is just my opinion, guys. That's my opinion. There's nowhere in the Bible that I can back that up. But it just seems like seems to be the strongest evidence for the timeline on how long it took him to build the ark. Now, going on. He tells them in Genesis chapter 6, verse 14, make thee an ark of gopher wood. Rooms shalt thou make in the ark, and shalt pitch it within and without with pitch. So these are some thoughts on what gopher wood was. And so now it could be cypress or cedar due to the thought he built it in the Middle East. Now, this is my argument on that. Now, we got to remember that the world that we have today is not the same world that was before the flood. Just remember, in 2 Peter 3:6, the world that then was being overflowed with water perished. And this is what I'm saying. Did he even build the ark in the same area that we know the Middle East to be in? We got to remember, they even believe that it's possible, and it could be, guys, that there was a supercontinent on this planet, and that during the flood, the continents that we have today was formed. And then those rose up and kind of channeled the water off and pulled up the water in sections. And because the flood water is still here. It's still on the planet. It didn't go anywhere. It's still here. If you was to do few little things to our planet, it'd flood the world all over again. And so that water is still here. It's still here. A lot of it is stored at the North and South poles, but we still have the water here. And so that's my only argument with this. It doesn't seem to fit good because the world that then had perished. We don't know where he built the ark. We don't have no clue where he built the ark at. And so to say the Middle East, now, could it have been made out of cypress or cedar? It could. I'm not denying that. I'm just stating because of the reasoning why they're saying. And so, any rate, the other thing, Indian teak has been found in ancient Babylon and would have been known by the people after the flood. Teak is thought to be the best wood for the construction of ships. Teak structures have resisted deterioration for thousands of years. The Chinese has a method of burying teak underground in order to make it harder. A study was done by soaking fresh and salt water, soaking it in fresh and salt water, various types of wood, including teak, for a year, and concluded that the mechanical properties, dimensional stability of gopher wood would not have changed significantly by water immersion, 30% maximum, even if it were not covered by pitch. 30% reduction would not be enough to diminish the structural integrity of the ark. Now, next, it's very possible that it's not so much of a wood, but a process used to build the ark. The gopher technique used to build the original Noah's Ark today, this technique is called structural interlamination, in which components are laminated together with a hydrocarbon resin. Gopher, as mentioned in Scripture, was not a species of wood, but was an engineering technique. And so, if you want to learn more about that, go to the Creation Evidence Museum by Dr. Carl Ball, and they actually have a model of Noah's Ark where it's actually not so much a wood, but an engineering technique of building the ship where the wood is kind of laminated and cross-sectioned. And so, but anyway, those are some ideas, guys, of what they believe gopher wood was. All right. Now, pitch. Pitch is a glue-like substance left behind when coal tar is heated or distilled. It belongs to the same family of substances as asphalt or bitumen. Presently, it is largely produced by heating coal, though it can be produced by extracted by distilling or heating wood. Before petroleum and coal industries, this was how pitch was made. The pitch-making industry was huge in Europe for about 1,000 years and was a skilled trade. This industry assisted in the construction of wooden sailing ships. Now, going on, their first step was to obtain resin from the pine trees, which at that time Europe's pitch industry grew in dense forests throughout Europe. A herringbone pattern of cuts was gouged into the tree trunk. As the resin ran down the grooves, it was collected in a pot at the base of the tree. Pine resin is still collected this way in Poland, the Ukraine, Russia, Finland, and other European countries where pine forests are still to be found. When the resin had finished flowing, the trees were chopped down, covered in soil or ash, and burned slowly to produce a lightweight, black, pure form of carbon called charcoal. The last step in the process of making pitch was to add the powdered charcoal to the boiling pine resins. Different proportions of charcoal would produce pitch of different properties. It was this pitch which was used to waterproof the large ocean-going wooden ships. All right, going on. A resinous coating on both sides of a rigid wall provides very strong impact resistance. Experiments with an explosive charge near both wood and concrete walls with and without resin treatment showed that the untreated walls were badly damaged and caused much debris to be thrown on a crash dummy behind the wall, while the treated walls were undamaged and protected the dummy. Now, going on, it says, Genesis 6:14, make thee an ark of gopher wood, rooms shalt thou make in the ark. And so now rooms, when you define that room in Hebrew, it means a nest, a nestle, or to occupy as a nest. Now down at the bottom, you got the Strong's Concordance if you guys want to freeze frame it and look over that. But pretty much when it talks about an ark, you're looking at a box, a chest, or coffin. You're looking at a more of a rectangular box shape is what they're talking about. And it says here, the length of the ark shall be 300 cubits, the breadth of it 50 cubits, and the height of it is 30 cubits. Now, when we're talking about a cubit, guys, we're talking about the length between the length from the elbow to the tip of the middle finger there. So that is going to be what you would consider a cubit. And you have different sizes of cubits. And so if you notice to the right there, you got whatever culture it is and what their cubit is considered to be measured. And so you got a Hebrew short, and then you got the Egyptian, and then you got the common short, and then a Babylonian, Hebrew long, and Egyptian long. So what they commonly would say is about 18 inches. And so now a royal cubit adds about 3 inches to the standard cubit, which was 17.5 to 18 inches, which would make the cubit length about 20.4 to 21.6 inches. Using 20.4 as a cubit, the ark would be 510 feet long, 85 feet wide, and 51 feet high. And so, but going to what they commonly would use, the ark is commonly, what you'll traditionally see, is 450 feet long. The ark's volume was approximately 1.88 million cubic feet. Another estimate of the size of the ark is the internal volume. It is estimated to have been about 1,518,750 cubic feet, 125,000 sheep, and 100,000 square feet of floor space. And so you could put 125,000 sheep in this thing. And now the ark had the cargo capacity of 522 railroad stock cars. Now, a stock car, this is what a stock car looks like. We're talking about, we're not talking about racing here. We're talking about what you would put animals in. It was large enough to contain nearly 450, and another estimate I got was 340 semi-truck trailers. So either way, 340 to 450 semi-truck trailers. We're talking about just a trailer, not the truck, the red part of it. We're talking about, or what you would call the tractor. We're talking about the trailer. You could put 340 to 450 semi-truck trailers in there. This is a football field, which is 360 feet long from end to end. The ark was 90 feet longer than a football field end to end, and as tall as a 4-story building. Now, this is the common length for a cubit is what I'm using here. Now, when you look at the Noah's Ark compared to other ships, the Santa Maria, Wyoming, Titanic, and the Queen Mary II, you can see that other ships bigger were made. And so absolutely just incredible when you get a visual here. And so it looked like you could, as far as the Queen Mary II, the Noah's Ark would be like lifeboats. Now, this is ancient Chinese treasure ships, aka, I'm going to try to pronounce that, the Baochuan. And so I'm just trying on that one. I probably messed it all up. It measures from 404 to 450 feet long. It had 9 masts, carried up to 28,000 people, plus food and water, various goods and animals, including horses for its fighting men, from 1405 to 1433. Under the command of Admiral Zheng He, the ships were used to bring back treasures. Now, it also talks about a door being set in the side thereof, and also a window. And we're going to talk about that next time when we come back in the next video. But at any rate, guys, we'll see you next time. I hope the Lord blesses you real good. Y'all have a great day. Bye-bye.